Welcome to the City Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, January 31st. This is first order of business is to consider the minutes of the January 10th, 13 minute meetings. Any questions or change?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is permitted use of microbrewery, winery, distiller operations in B2 General Business District and B3 Central Business Downtown District. Community Development Director Dennis Darnold.
Just to introduce the subject, I've received a number of inquiries from businesses that are interested in wineries, breweries, distilleries, brew pubs in regards to where they may be potentially located in the city of Hudson. Now, if you take them only on their manufacturing consideration, then they're limited to the industrial districts, and we do have one brewery located in the city of Hudson, located in the old Hudson Industrial Park. So the question came up because there is processing or manufacturing involved in these facilities. Can they be potentially allowed in the central business district or the central business district? As of today, my interpretation of the zoning code is no, they cannot, because they're a manufacturing process. So the question is would the city be open to allowing these types of facilities, limited in size, reviewed by Plan Commission Common Council, under either certificate of compliance or a conditional use permit in commercial areas? I'm not suggesting one way or the other. I just simply want to have a discussion. We do have some parties that have expressed interest in the various systems here tonight, and they may, if you have got questions on process or, tasting rooms or brew pubs, those maybe they can answer some of those questions. Perhaps you've had your own experiences. I guess I've been in a couple of brew pubs in Madison and Walsall. I think they're very nice facilities, or can be potentially very nice facilities. I guess the question is, do we want to potentially consider allowing these types of facilities in our commercial areas other than the industrial areas? And under what circumstance? I guess, if the answer is yes, after our discussion tonight, I would draft ordinance or some alternative ordinances, bring them back in about a month for the Plan Commission to consider. And if the answer is, so you don't make the final determination tonight on a specific ordinance, but just the fact of whether you're open for discussion and continued review of this issue. And it doesn't commit you one way or the other to saying yes, we would do it or not, but it just initiates the process. If the answer is simply no, then we're going to head in a different direction. So then I can answer. When I get an inquiry, I can say no. They'd be limited to the industrial areas within the city. So that's in simple context. Again, we have some interested parties that are involved in wineries and breweries here tonight, and maybe they can answer questions also for you. But Mary Claire.
Can I just ask a quick
Sure.
question? How long has it been on the books that it hasn't been allowed in this district?
Well, it's just not a listed use. These
Okay.
types of facilities are, I've done a lot of research on the internet. I think part of it is Wisconsin statutes. The large breweries didn't want these microbreweries
Right.
in Wisconsin up, and basically state statute changed about a year ago. Since then, we've been getting more and more inquiries. But really, the microbreweries really didn't start becoming popular till 1980s or so, and then you're starting to see a mix of restaurants, breweries, and we're in some cases, the breweries are ancillary or subordinate to the restaurant. And so those are the types of things we would want to consider. If we want to consider how they may potentially use. Do we limit them in size? Do we limit them in the amount of or volume that they can manufacture per year? Outside storage limitations, those types of things. So if they would be permitted for your certificate of compliance or conditional use permit, the difference between the two is that the conditional use permit requires a public hearing. So So that's the consideration. Do we want to open a door for these types of facilities in the commercial districts, limiting it to the central business district, and which is downtown, and then the general business district, which is generally what we call the Hill area, which is up on both sides of I-94.
I share your,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry if I'm out of line. I share your opinion, Denny. I've been to the one in Wausau. I just went to the brand-new opened one in Canal Park up in Duluth. Been to the one in downtown Minneapolis. Typically, they serve food along with brewing beer behind glassed walls. I don't know what that means, but done very tastefully, very high-end, draw in tons of people. If done properly, as I think you alluded, I would be all for that. I think that's a very nice attraction to a tourist area, a shopping area, a place to go stop and take a break and all that. So I would be for it if it's done right, I guess would be my opinion.
I mean, Kevin?
One question I have, are these facilities allowed to sell beer outside of that facility? Or is it all for consumption inside that
Well,
facility?
that's something we would want to decide also. I mean, it could be tailored to be either way. Now, generally, they would have to conform, they have to get a brewer's permit or a winery permit from the state of Wisconsin. Those would have certain regulations on how it can be distributed. So they'd have to meet all the Wisconsin permitting codes. I guess the question would be is, if the city of Hudson's gonna get more stringent than what, and I guess there'd be some caution in doing that. But again, that's, you know, that'd be part of the issue also.
Okay, I guess the reason I ask is if it becomes more of a manufacturing facility than a pub restaurant,
Retail.
then all of a sudden, how many deliveries are they getting? Do they
Exactly.
need loading docks? And now are you disrupting the retail center for more manufacturing? So I think you probably, those are the, how we license it is probably gonna determine those kind of concerns.
And that may fall back on square footage allowances, a percentage of area that can be utilized for the manufacturing considerations, hours of operation. If they have tasting rooms, there might be more limited hours of operation than what a typical bar would be under a retail site. So I don't have all the answers, 'cause I'm not gonna spend a ton of time and bring it all in here and then you just simply say no. I would guess, see or yet, hopefully yes, let's proceed, take a look at it, but this isn't our final answer, or no, let's not proceed. So I don't know if some of the people in our audience want to make any comments, certainly, or share. I know Vincent Negret, am I correct? And you've got a winery in Cannon Falls?
Work for a winery in Cannon Falls that I helped start.
If you want to step
Yeah,
up to the
please.
microphone, and if you could give your name and, yes.
Vincent Negret, a winemaker from Colombia, South America, came to Minnesota in late 2000 and worked for a winery in Alexandria, Minnesota. Then moved to Ohio for 2.5 years. And then a family that was starting a winery in 2004 in Minnesota hired me to help them start a winery. That is located in downtown Cannon Falls. And they went through the same process that we're having here. Basically, they bought an old building and remodeled it and turned it into the winery. And we have been operating for 8 years, going into 9. Grown tremendously, very well received by the city. The city is totally happy with us in the sense that we are attracting a lot of tourism and giving people the pleasure, of as you mentioned, just coming out of work and drinking a glass of wine at the end of the day in a quiet place, in a sophisticated place. Lots of events going on every weekend and every time that it is possible. So basically, it's the idea is, number one, promote the locally grown, locally produced, tailored to a sophisticated audience that that is not going to be loud and obnoxious or any of that, right? And give space for events for the local community and for people from other towns and cities. Become an asset. That's basically what we're looking. No, if you consider this, no, we would be an asset for the city. We would be working closely with the community to make everybody happy, right? And hopefully make a little bit of money. I don't know how much, but we'll try hard.
Do you serve food at your, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do you serve food at your location?
Down in Cannon Falls, we are not, and that is, I believe, it's holding us from performing better. So my personal plan is to have food available, have a catering service that could operate within the building, that would serve some not very sophisticated, sophisticated food, yes, but not very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Something that will accompany the wine experience and go well with it. I think that is critical. So it's basically good music, good food, good wine, good company. That's.
How many square feet? Is that all on one floor? And how many square feet is it?
Right now, the one that we operate is it's about 100 feet by 60 feet. That's the floor plan. It has 2 stories. And we have outgrown right now, so we are starting to refurbish the second story, the second floor, because during the weekends we cannot get enough people in. There's a lot of people that have to turn back because they cannot fit. we about 100 people normally in the floor can fit, but right now the demand is way bigger.
And that's wine only, or is that also beer?
Only wine.
Okay.
Only wine, yes. And we have specialty cheeses and crackers and things like that to accompany. And we bring caterers when somebody requests, I want to have this event and I need a caterer. So we have a bunch of caterers in the area that will come and serve that food for us.
So in the case of a wine bar, then that basically what you're describing is really a retail establishment where you're bringing the wine in, locally grown, or you're processing and making it right there, and it's to be sold only in that facility and not leave in cases and bottles and all that other type of distribution type thing, or please explain that.
We do both. So we produce the wine there, and it's an open facility so that everybody that walks in will see the tanks and will see the winemaker crawling up in the tanks and doing everything. So it's an interactive thing. It's the wine experience, we call it. Somebody that comes in searching for what are you making wine in Minnesota? How come? So where are your grapes? Where are that? No, so we explain. We give them the tour. Then we give them the little wine tasting with the products that we offer, and then the person can also buy the wine and take it home, either by the bottle or by the case. But we also serve, as time progressed, what happened is that many of these customers that came to the winery started calling us and saying, hey, I am 30 miles away and I don't want to drive to buy a bottle of wine. Why don't you have it in the local store? So we started serving these wine stores just to serve our customer base. And gradually we grew and grew and grew. Right now we're in about 120 stores in Minnesota.
With that said then, are you restricted to hours for loading, unloading? Is it done on a piecemeal basis? Please describe, are you doing it once a week where you're shipping out to all your retail outlets? Please explain that.
The way we're operating is we have one salesperson with a little truck, and he comes as needed, practically every day, and he parks in the back of the winery and loads his truck and then goes and he serves the customers. So it's just not even a big truck, no, it's just a pickup truck, basically.
So you're not disrupting any parking, you're not had to make a special loading area or anything. Basically, you're carrying stuff out and throw it in the back of a pickup truck.
That is correct. Now, we do receive big trucks once in a while. For example, during the harvest season, then a big semi will have to come into the winery. So we have in the back of the winery, there's a a parking space where the truck will come in and then we'll unload the grapes or unload the bottles or unload the different materials that we need.
In the case of the facility you have, then it sounds like you have the space to do that then?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for him? Thank you.
Well, and just one issue that when we talked with Hudson Brewery initially on, locating Hudson is what's the potential impact on a wastewater treatment plant? Discharging, cleaning out tanks, discharging the byproduct to the wastewater treatment plant. And so far, there hasn't been any, knock on wood, there hasn't been any concerns. But now on a winery, that might be a little bit different. I know there's a difference between red and white grapes on how they use the skins and so forth, but the byproduct from that, how's that disposed of? I mean,
Okay, so there's yeast basically. The material that is disposed into the sewer system is basically the residual of the first deposit of yeast once the yeast has transformed the juice into wine and it sells in the bottom of the tank. So it's not a huge amount. It has a lot of oxygen demand, though, yes. The city has never so far have any problems with that. So they know what we're disposing of, and we normally put it in the sewer. So that's liquid, right? So it's a dense liquid, basically. A lot of organic material, yes. So that's something that we could look at, no, to see if how much the DOB would be and if it's needed to be pre-treated or something. But normally, now that's not a big amount, but the bigger amount is the disposal of the pressed skins of the grapes and all that. That is solid material that we typically bring back into the vineyard or turn it in, or if needed, we take it to the city disposing part for organic material.
So it doesn't go into the sewer system?
No. Yes.
those are, that's the type of thing also, like, the city's gotta be careful about. Typically, if we allow these smaller types of breweries, distilleries, that some kind of a check-off or review by the wastewater treatment plant director would be required as part of the permit process for the city, so that, we're working hand in hand with that manufacturing facility to make sure there's no negative impact on our wastewater treatment plant, so.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I'd like to add something.
Yes, sir. If you'd step up and give us your name, please.
My name is Matteo Negrete. I've worked in wineries for quite a while now, under the apprenticeship of my father, Vincent. Just wanted to address some of the concerns regarding distribution. With Wisconsin law, there's a three-tier alcohol system where producers cannot be distributors and distributors can't be retail outlets wholesalers, not retail outlets. So we would just be looking to be more of a winery tourist establishment where we would bring in the people and sell them the product there. But we wouldn't be looking necessarily towards distribution to other liquor stores, at least initially. That's limited more for, I think it's 10,000 cases for small wineries. You have a production limit. So all those limits for production and distribution are already really established by the state. And it really, we wouldn't be looking to expand beyond that. We'd just be looking to stay a micro winery in the region. That's really what I have to add.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Greg Harris.
How you doing? Greg Harris, owner and co-founder with my wife here of American Sky Beer, Hudson Brewing Company. So we started the process here with Denny about a year ago and Bill Rubin in regards to the brewery. And we did end up going in the industrial park. We are a manufacturing facility. We produce, our capacity is about 2,000 barrels a year. From a barrel standpoint, that's roughly 31 gallons per barrel. So we do receive shipments every day, and we do produce beer pretty much every 4 days, and we ship out to our distributors locally in about 9 counties every 4 to 5 days, sometimes once a week. So a couple things I just wanted to clarify from a brewery standpoint. I understand the winery standpoint. We are in the industrial park. Our business model is 50% of the tap room and 50% of our distributed beer sales. So a big piece of our company comes from people coming in to visit the manufacturing facility, to sit at our tap room or our bar, and to have one of our beverages that we produce. Couple of questions I'd have. We'd love to be downtown, producing our beer within the historic downtown Hudson. And the question would be is what type of requirements or restrictions would you put on that? As we sit today, we can be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can sell all our kegs and all our beer to just like anyone with a liquor license, except we have a brewery license versus a liquor license. So we don't have any restrictions upon us, and I know, Denny, you kind of spoke about that there, it would be difficult to enforce additional restrictions beyond what's already required by the state. But again, our license is through the state, not through the municipality. That was something that I think Governor Walker with Motion 414 changed about a year ago. So there is some changing laws that has happened here recently. But a question to be is, what do you think from a size or a limitation standpoint would be required to have a brewery downtown Hudson?
Well, I don't know if we know that. I mean, that's the reason of the discussion tonight is, one is if we're going to have, I mean, in my opinion, if we're going to have these types of facilities, we want to make sure they work within the context of the downtown area, commercial area. Mm-hmm. I think Kevin made a good point. They're going to be purely manufacturing facilities. No, I mean, that's probably not the purpose for putting them downtown. But there's some kind of marriage between food service, where it's, probably doesn't go beyond the fit. Well, I mean, if it's more than 50% manufacturing, I don't know. I guess, the answer is we're trying to explore, how many gallons a year limit, those types of things. Maybe that doesn't affect this overall size. Because if you're operating on a more continued basis, particularly where wine might be more sensitive to the delivery of the product versus grain, mm-hmm. Then so we'd have a lot of homework to do between now and any recommendations coming back. But that's where we'd hope maybe to try to get input from people like you that have inside knowledge of this type of industry.
I would tell you that I wouldn't think you would get a 24-hour to be able to serve liquor.
We don't use that. We actually have very limited hours. So
I can tell you that maybe the competitors wouldn't be real happy about that.
Exactly. No, that's for sure. So we definitely try to truncate our hours to prevent any competition with the local.
Yep.
But as you know, you talked about some microbreweries in the Twin Cities and maybe that area. Their business model is very much the tap room, and that is pretty much what they drive and go after. So I would say consider that. Even though we all have a manufacturing license, predominantly the business models in the Twin Cities coming up today are really around producing for beer on premise, but they do have the ability to sell off premise. So the state of Wisconsin is a self-distributing. There isn't a three-tier system that's required under 60,000 barrels for anybody producing beer in the state of Wisconsin. So that's pretty big. That's about half the size of New Glarus that you could distribute by yourself. Now, you probably couldn't do that, nor would it be cost conscious to do that, but that is something you could.
Your wife had a comment. If you want to come up.
I question. Yeah, I was just going to ask if you guys decide to allow this to be passed, is there going to be like a cap on how many microbreweries or wineries that can come in? And I guess that's my concern because I'm in charge of all of our event planning, and Greg and I work on two opposite spectrums of our brewery. I try to, we both have the same goal, but we're trying to really involve the city of Hudson and to get musicians locally, and as well as, like you said, pair up with the community and help advertise our other businesses to help strengthen all of our businesses here in Hudson. And so I guess what I was asking is, are you guys going to, like Greg said, we would love to be downtown. However, I'm not sure. You may have a ton of different ideas coming through here. I'm not sure.
Well, that issue would be discussed with our city attorney. Typically, the city of Hudson it's a free market arena, and why we would be limiting, unless there's a limit on licenses or something, that'd be between the city attorney and common council, but typically, if we artificially limited commerce, no.
But would that fall in under the city having to issue a liquor license for that establishment? Does it fall into that or no?
Depends on how the licenses are required. Now,
The
right
way I
now,
read
the-
it, it's
the
Wisconsin,
beer-
yeah.
Yeah,
Beer,
brewer,
it's-
brewer license, that's issued through the state of Wisconsin, that
that
doesn't go
doesn't apply
against.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't hold we cannot hold a liquor license as a brewery. It's not allowed. So, if you're a brew pub with food, you then have to get city approval through a liquor license, but that's very different from a brewery. A brewery can serve any Wisconsin-made beer. So any brewery that's within Wisconsin, that's brewed in with the state of Wisconsin can be brewed or can be sold through a brewery license like ours. We choose to just sell American Sky, but we do have the ability to, sell anything that's brewed here in the state of Wisconsin. So. And we don't have a liquor license. We have a brewery license that is part of the permit, so.
So Denny, could we, I don't know, you probably don't know the answer to this question yet, but you were saying under your license, you can brew 60,000 barrels?
60,000 barrels, which is 180,000.
You're doing 2,000 now?
We are hoping to get close to 1,500
1,500,
in the
okay.
next year, yeah.
So, but that's under your specific license through the state?
That's under our capacity.
Right.
We have the ability through our permit to brew up to basically 180,000 gallons.
Okay.
I can't convert that quickly into kegs, but that's a heck of a lot.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, can we even limit that?
I believe the answer is yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
I've tried to research, a lot of communities are looking at this issue. There are, some of them are using definitions based on the Brewers Association, 15,000 barrels per year or whatever. There are some communities that limit 1,000 barrels per month, or some may limit even less than that. So, I mean, you look at how communities are regulating this, you see a vast array of regulation.
So how
I guess the question is, does that volume affect how a facility can be sited downtown and how it works in the context of a downtown area? I guess that's the question. What's the nexus between that and the impact on the downtown area?
There is one other piece of the law, Dan, I think I talked to you about this morning, which is, as a brewer, I have the ability to have 2 retail outlets for our facility. So it doesn't mean we have to manufacture in the city in which we brew, but we have the ability to sell within the city which we brew with that facility. It just means we wouldn't have the manufacturing site on site. So that is an option for us. It's something that, depending upon which way the ordinances go, we would take advantage of that.
So your license then, if you had a storefront downtown,
Right,
then you could sell under your brewing license.
correct,
In up to 2 of those.
correct. Yep.
And you can still sell any beer or just your beer?
I can sell any beer that's brewed in the state of Wisconsin.
Okay.
And I can sell off sale or on sale.
And that's not a liquor license, that's a city license.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
It's a permit issued by the state of Wisconsin.
Correct.
Interesting.
Any other
Did
questions?
not know that.
Anyone else? Yes. Come on up. Please give us your name.
Hi, I'm Jana Gaffer, and we're Historic Casanovas in the Nova in downtown. And I'm also president of the Downtown Retail Council, and that's one of the reasons that I'm here too. But both of these propositions, breweries and wineries, and I think benefit my business quite a bit. I mean, it does make a community. It's a huge tourism thing. People come to town for those reasons specifically. The downtown group is so good at accepting new businesses, would love a wine. I mean, it would be awesome to have a winery in downtown and everything. One of the issues that we have though is size-wise, and the similar things that you're talking about, just how it would affect the downtown if it was a large production site versus a small production site. And one of the things that you were just talking about were, I go to a lot of different places to do wine, and a lot of the larger communities, or the smaller communities, the one that comes to the top of my head is Walla Walla. They have a lot of tasting rooms, just tasting rooms downtown, and it has kind of revitalized their community. It was not very productive. Businesses were closing everywhere, and all of a sudden these wineries that were growing up around the town brought these tasting rooms to town, and now their tourism is amazing. If you try to get in on a fall day or even in the summer, it's a really busy, bustling community. So I don't know if that's an option if someone wants a larger scale to have a tasting room versus having, I don't know where licensing with that would fit with it. And just produce the beer or the wine off-site somewhere else and then bring it in, because then you wouldn't have as much of the traffic and the distribution issues and everything. And as you know, with liquor and liquor licenses in the state of Wisconsin, there's so many different aspects and different things that you can or cannot do. But from the downtown perspective, that's all that we would ask that you would consider a little bit is the size and how that it would affect the downtown businesses that are here currently already. I think their number one concern with different businesses coming in, of course, is parking, which is always a huge issue, and everything else. But just the trucks. I mean, there are a lot of semis on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays doing deliveries and different things in downtown already, and how that affects everybody down there. So that's it.
With that said, if I may ask a question, then Denny, would our parking laws and things come into effect depending on the size of the proposed facility? Let's say, as you used your example, capacity of 100 people, would we then require them to have X amount of parking?
They'd be subject to the same regulations as any other business in downtown, depending on the specific type of, offices. One set of standards, restaurants are different, so we'd have to review what's the closest and then force it accordingly. Right now, locations of 6,000 feet or smaller are exempt from off-street parking requirements.
Okay. But it is identical.
Yeah, the same
Basically
regulations.
What's your thoughts? Yeah, go ahead. Did you have another? Come on up.
Just to add another twist to Mom's idea there, Walla Walla, Washington, right? It has become a hub because they are becoming famous around the world for their quality of wine. And there's very prestigious wineries growing everywhere. So the type of tourist that goes there wants a place that they can taste all the wineries around the area in one place. So that's why the model of the tasting room works so well, because there's many wineries that get together and open that tasting room for everyone. So that's a different maturity state of the type of the market right there. In the case of Wisconsin, Minnesota, we're a little behind, right? So we are still discovering, hey, we can grow grapes here, first of all, and then you can make also wine. So and there's not enough wineries in the area to sustain, a tasting room. So in our case, I think it operates better if you have the production, even a small production, right there, so that people can see it, smell it, taste it, etc., and have the wine experience complete.
Okay.
Let me go back and ask one more question on the beer, on the up to 2 outlying facilities. Can they have tasting rooms in them too?
Correct, that's what it means, right? So at
Okay,
our brewery-
not just sale, also tasting room.
both, yes.
Okay.
They call them retail outlets, so
Okay.
both, yep.
But that wouldn't be, that also would, being that we're in the industrial park,
So one would, for us particularly, one would count for the tasting room we have
Oh,
available
okay,
today,
no.
so
One.
come on
So,
up for a
but-
One
pint.
outside.
But the one outside you could have.
Correct, yeah, I
would
checked
have-
on,
could not only sell your product, it could also have a tasting room in it.
correct, it would be like a beer bar that would allow to serve any Wisconsin-made beer.
however, most breweries that are downtown Minneapolis have the big kind of brewery, it's starting to grow massively in Minneapolis. People go to those tasting rooms to see their manufacturing facilities. That's part of the experience. And so that's kind of, as far,
Yep.
my opinion, that they want to see that. That's, I mean, they'll still go there and taste it in a tasting room, but that is part of being able to see the essence of the manufacturing side.
The architecture, everything about it is
Right.
very cool. I mean, people like that.
Big tanks.
So, what's your pleasure? Should we, I think we ought to have Denny do some more work on it, and let's, at least take a good look at it. At least that's my,
I would make a
Us.
motion to that effect, that I would ask Denny, we wanna get as much facts as possible and try to come up with some parameters that would be livable and usable to not disrupt, but accommodate what's trying to be done here and have it be done properly to be an asset to the city.
And I think it would also be, we have basically two areas. I mean, we have the downtown and up on the hill.
sure.
And those both have different opportunities as well as limitations.
Sure. Is there a second to Fred's motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Boys, you guys got anything to add, or?
I think the biggest thing for us, just let us know when we can move downtown.
Is what?
When you
I'm
can move
joking.
downtown.
Let us know when we can move downtown.
Okay,
Well, just let me explain the process. Basically, first of all, the Planning Commission would have to formulate a draft set of regulations, make a recommendation to the Common Council. The Common Council would set a public hearing to receive public comment, and then the council would, you're considered to, modify the ordinance, deny the ordinance, or pass as proposed. But it's probably, a 6 to 8 week process, most likely. But by the time we get our regulations set, if we want to make a recommendation, and then secondly, go through the hearing process, so.
okay.
Can we have certain levels of these things? Can we have a tasting room? Can you have
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what, I guess getting all these facts together will maybe explain some of that, but I guess it
Yeah,
makes you wonder what level can you offer a base level, an enhanced level, and then something else? I mean, I don't know. I guess I want to know all that.
And that's where I think I probably would propose some alternative things, so it's just not limited. I give you some flexibility as to in regards to how you may want to tailor these, so.
And then we want the public input. I mean, what do the folks think is a good idea? So, all right, let's move on. I would like to set a date for a public forum to discuss the consideration of the construction of the median within Gateway Boulevard right-of-way north of Crestview Drive. Community Development Director Dennis.
Well, in the consideration for the Hudson Center, which is a former tourist information center, was discussed. There's some discussion on where the city would consider putting a median in Gateway Boulevard, and the city attorney and I both suggested the Planning Commission and the Common Council that we should have a public forum to discuss that issue before the city really moves ahead. Just like to set a date so we can let the property owners, the businesses, and the city, our engineers, know 3 or 4 weeks before a meeting so we can get it on their schedules. I know the owner of the Taco Bell property and the Taco Bell management both are very interested in this issue, want to attend, want to participate in the discussion. So our next Plan Commission meeting's on Thursday, February 28th. We could set it that date if you want to wait till March, and we'd set it to your first or second meeting in March. But I want to make sure that members are able to attend, because if, we don't want to set up hearings, set up dates and so forth, and not be able to move ahead with a meeting.
What are you looking at time frame wise? I mean, if we go through this process, however it comes out at the end of it, and then implementation of whatever comes out before it's put in. I mean, what do you think that is?
Well,
6 months, a year?
That'll be determined by the Common Council, and,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, traffic demands may not require it immediately, but Well, first of all, let me regress. First decision where we would even consider putting the median in, if it's determined and how and at what timetable, but all, part of formulating those decisions is part of this initial discussion.
Okay.
Denny, I don't remember, did we have the engineers recommend this or not recommend it?
They suggested the city take a look at it.
Okay, but there hasn't been a recommendation, yay or nay?
That's correct.
Are we gonna get that from
We
them?
can get that.
Okay.
Well, we had the
That'd be-
traffic flow analysis, and they said at certain times it could fall below,
Well,
what did they say, a level 3, was that how they described it?
C, well, you got A through F, and, but the essence of the reason they suggested the city take a look at it, because if you're going north on Gateway Boulevard and traffic, southbound traffic's stacking to a point that you can't make the left turn into Taco Bell, then all of a sudden you got congestion that, you know, and a median would not allow that left turn. So you had also, not only is the median, but you also gotta work out an alternative access into Taco Bell. You could still allow the existing access to be right in, right out only, but there'd have, you know, we'd have to try to work with the,
But with that said, are one-ways then on the table again? I mean, one-ways solve the problem of medians, or is that not?
well,
Is that-
both engineers, both the city's engineer and developer's engineer strongly suggested not going that route.
Okay.
I think it's a tough sell from a business standpoint for all three of those businesses to put a median in there. But again, let's look at a date and have a hearing in.
Did the owner of Taco Bell have any further conversations about buying that property to the north of theirs?
There's been conversations between the two parties, but nothing's been determined.
Okay.
I'd
I
say
mean,
that
that-
sooner the better, so I'd say if we can do it February 28th, let's try for that.
I'm okay with that.
I will not be here. Sorry.
You too?
That should be okay.
So we go ahead and schedule it?
Yep.
Please.
All right. We'll do it at 7 o'clock. I'll get notices out, get, to the paper tomorrow and send them out to the property owners and businesses immediately.
How far are you gonna go on that, Danny? How far, either way, or,
Well, basically all three of the businesses on the north side.
yep,
And then probably south, they're not truly impacted in
No.
a sense, then also the property owner, the Hudson Center.
okay.
Will they project out that in, say, 5 years of build out, that traffic levels will now be at these levels and maybe it warrants it?
Well,
Will they anticipate, is maybe that the
Well,
word?
traffic analysis did that.
Right.
So, I mean, we already got that information.
Okay.
But the other thing is determine that the engineers can be there that night to answer questions.
That'd be good.
Yep. All right. Any other business that you would like to bring forward for upcoming agendas? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.